And today we're going to answer the question, who really runs Epstein? Or at least we're going to have some fun with it. Okay. So conveniently, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. This is on the FT today. How did Mrs. Rothschild get involved with Epstein? I'm not making this up. So I'm eating my eggs and bacon this morning and I'm scrolling through Substack and somebody puts that up. So I know it's a little bit of, maybe if I did this, it'd be better. I wanted you to see the handsome church though. So these are the ridges that are on both sides of Johnstown. It's like a great place to have a flood. Like there's one of these on one side and one on the other. And when the water came through, it's a famous flood of Johnstown that absolutely destroyed the city. While we're looking at this, though, I want to also show you there's a bank right there, and there's a bank. And before we get into the Rothschild thing, there's hundreds of these little banks around the country trading below book value. In other words, trading like they're bankrupt. That's one of them in Marisburg right there. That's an interesting thing to think about. Like, I'm also going to do today at some point, I'm going to do all business, where we're going to talk all business about Bruno and this new thing you're going to hear about called Town and Country. And that's the new brand for all the investment tokenization, all the stuff you've heard me talk about for 5 years. It's happening. It's happening right now. But let's do the Mrs. Rothschild real quick. That is the answer to, that doesn't really get the job done. Let me go this way. Hold on. Don't go away. It's a Holiday Inn, people. It's not that exciting. Actually, I'm going to use this. Look at this thing. There's a 7-pointed star. That's what I always use to describe like the Antichrist or something like that. So it is Mrs. Rothschild and it isn't. Not the way you think, not in a simplistic way. But the Financial Times was sold, I think about a year ago. And I think it was sold to the company that controls the Nikkei. I think it's a Japanese firm. It was reportedly owned by the Rothschilds for a long time. And I published on TikTok, and I think it's on Substack, and I think you can still find it if you Google it, the announcement that the Rothschilds were coming to North America to work with the Rockefellers. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's just like in an article in the Financial Times. Now, and the reason they said is because of fracking. So, you know how I'll make this real simple for you. I don't think that the Rothschilds rule the world in like a goofy way. Like there's not like an old man in the basement, like eating children or something. But what we've really learned when we look into the world of Epstein is how the Western world really works. Alexander Dugin, Putin's philosopher, has probably the best article. I mean, it just sounds like me. I mean, like I always have found Alexander Dugin to be much more interesting than people give him credit for. And the theme of the Russian Orthodox Church Putin worldview is the West is just destroying itself with economically, war, sexual deviancy, LGBTQ, transgenderism. It's just nihilism. And he's right. And we're in big trouble. Now we wake up and we realize that like presidents of the United States, it sounds like Tim Dillon, but it's not, rape, impregnate, murder, and eat children. So let's all calm down. So we walk around and we go, Trump did this. Trump invaded Minneapolis. Trump attacked Venezuela. Here's what to do. Or Epstein did this. Or Epstein is controlling Congress through sexual blackmail and AIPAC and Mossad and shit like that. Every time you say that, just remove Epstein and Trump and just insert in the Rothschilds. It's not exactly a perfect fit, but my point is, this is a quote. I want you to tell all your friends this quote. Epstein said in an email, quote, "As you probably know, I work for the Rothschilds." Okay. Now, it's not like it sounds, though. It's not like he gets up in the morning and gets an order from a guy in a basement of a castle eating children or something like that. But all that activity is there, right? And really what this means is that we really don't have a federal government. We really, like, secret societies, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, money laundering, investment banking, um, it's all one thing. And it has the federal government doesn't, the US Congress doesn't exist. For example, right now we're going through this thing again where they go, and the potential government shutdown. Who's shutting down the government? The Rothschilds. It's not really the Rothschilds shutting down the government. What I mean is, we walk around and we go, Trump and Chuck Schumer and the left and the right, stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight. This Mickey Mouse that's not who runs the world. It's not who runs the world. The people in the Epstein emails are the people who run the world. And when you think like this and you go, the Rothschilds are going to shut down the government. It's sort of Mickey. It's not really how it works, but it's a better way to say it than to think that Donald Trump and Chuck Schumer are shutting down the government. That's not how it works. We live in some sort of nightmare oligarchy thing that is really a lot like the Confederacy. And if you've followed me for 5 years, I do this shtick. I just go, someday we're going to wake up into the Confederacy. The Epstein emails are the Confederacy. No, 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 no. They were just good, wholesome men down south protecting bullshit. They were the whole fucking operation of the Confederacy was surrounded Judah Benjamin, who fucking worked for the Rothschilds. I'm not making this up. Go study it yourself. Judah Benjamin negotiated with the Rothschilds and the Kingdom of England and the Kingdom of France to put troops in Canada and troops in Mexico to invade the United States as soon as General Lee got the upper hand. That was the real plan. Is to imagine what would have happened if Lee captured Washington, D.C. That's sort of what we're living through, folks. What did the Confederacy create? Masked terrorists running around kidnapping people. Sound familiar? It's called ICE. Back then it was called the Ku Klux Klan. See how this all fits together? If you believe that this is, I'm out of my box or whatever, the fucking biography of Grant by Chernow, mainstream guys, written a top selling biography of like everybody who's everybody in American history. The day after Appomattox, General Grant was going to invade Mexico to drive the French out of Mexico. The French out of Mexico. So when you go into Epstein world, you're like looking into this, we throw around this word globalist, and then dumbasses are like, Trump's going to take on Trump isn't taking on George Soros, just like Joe Biden isn't taking on the Koch brothers. Just to be silly about it, just go, Epstein said, I work for the Rothschilds. In other words, he works for everybody with lots of money. Frankly, the one they're referring to is the Swiss European side of the family that runs sort of a boutique, bigger than a boutique, sort of like not a UBS. A UBS, I think, is the largest wealth management firm in the world. It's like 20 times bigger than the GDP of Switzerland. UBS is so big. But the Rothschilds, I think it was the British side, restructured BP. The Rothschilds restructured the debt of Venezuela. I'm making this up. And again, I'm not just trying to make this like a goofy, like Simpsons episode where there's a goofy guy that looks like the old Rothschild guy who like has this beak and like is creepy and stuff like that. But it does show that our whole system is completely dependent on like international banking. And what's going on right now with all the chaos, I like to put the words chaos and crypto together, is we're getting off the dollar. The dollar is not going to zero. It's not collapsing, but it is going down. That's why gold just hit a new high. Silver just hit a new high. And then there's looked like some sort of executed takedown last Friday. But the US Treasury and the Fed and the price of gold and silver, you don't really have to understand exactly where it's going. I don't. But it's all being restructured and it's moving on to this new thing that runs on Ripple. The banking system's running on Ripple, and the investment system is going to run on Ethereum and other things. I think Ethereum is now like $250 billion. Just a quick take on, the Dow hitting 50,000, I think is really psychologically a really interesting thing. Let me give you this, Linda. Let me sign off with this because I think this is what will sort of bring it all together. Just at cocktail parties or whatever, Epstein said I work for the Rothschilds, right? And everybody will go like, really? He said that? Yeah, that sort of explains the whole thing, doesn't it? And everybody will sort of go, yeah, that sort of explains everything. I want to introduce you to this idea. It's not very popular. Very few people talk about it or think about it. It used to be very much part of Mark Faber. He's the Swiss guy, lives in Thailand, PhD in both economics and finance at 21, like just super genius guy. But he would frequently roll out this idea. He said, my arm's getting tired. He said, I think the worse things get in America, the higher the Dow will go. Think about that. He said that 25 years ago. So yesterday, as fucked up as things are, yesterday the Dow hitting 50,000 sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Well, I don't understand. Because the stock market is much more influenced by inflation than anybody in Wall Street will tell you. Okay. What I'm telling you is, as we move into this new chaotic thing, the pure financial world, as represented by the Dow Jones Industrial Average, is in trouble. Does that mean it's going to go down? Not really. Hear me out. Amazon went down 9% yesterday. That's a $2 trillion stock. It lost $250 billion in a day. $200 billion. That's not a prediction that it's going to go down further. I'm just saying that's chaotic for a giant company to lose 9% of its value. But here's this ratio I want you to think about. Is the Dow versus gold. So the math is easy right now. Gold's about 5,000, the Dow's at 50,000, so it's 10-1. It will take you about a year you'll just be driving, sitting at a stoplight, listening to the Grateful Dead or something, and go, what is it with that guy and that gold Dow thing? What the fuck does gold have to do with the Dow? And then you'll start running the numbers in your head and you'll go like, huh, gold's at 6,000 now. Then you'll remember things like this. On 9/11, the Dow was at about 10,000 and gold was at 270. And then your brain will just start to wonder and you'll go, wow, like, so at times like the Dow can be like 20 times higher than gold. Yeah, that's about the peak. How low does it go? And here's the fun part, Linda. Let me tell you something, Linda. When the stock market bottoms, gold equals the Dow. What? What are you talking? And In other words, the worst bear markets take the Dow and put it together with gold 1 to 1. So hear me out. This you'll think about this for the next 12 months. You won't be able to get out of your head. When the Dow Jones Industrial Average bottomed during the Depression, it equaled the price of gold. When the stock market bottomed in 1980 or 81, I think it was 81, the stock market equaled the price of gold. Well, one was caused by inflation and one was caused by deflation. That's right. So you're saying that this is like some sort of weird super index that like lives underneath all of finance. That's right. Because it's how the financial world touches the real world. You won't be able to get this out of your head. And really, for whatever you're going to do, whether you're going to buy crypto or go pound salt or whatever you're going to do, I think this is where we are now. If you study the history, let's go back to the Rothschilds. If you study the history of the Rothschilds, they frequently are involved with mega resource projects, giant copper mines, the Suez Canal, I think probably financed the portion of the Panama Canal. So this is just sort of fun to say who runs the world, and you get to say Mrs. Rothschild, but that's actually not a bad way to think about it. And it's not a bad way to think about what Trump is doing with Greenland and the resources and the water in Minnesota. And I mean, there's a young man in Minneapolis that I followed on TikTok. He's an electrical engineer, and he came on 6 months ago and he said, people, the things that they're saying about AI don't exist. There is no way that they're going to be able to create enough electricity for this. And most people in the business are saying the same thing. So again, AI is causing the NASDAQ to go up and crash and do this and that. You know, what the NASDAQ is doing is hitting up against the wall of real world assets, commodities. So the touch point index, it's weird. It's like a magic thing. But the fact that that went below about 12, the people who like to talk about this thing like to say that when the Dow goes about, right now it's about 10, if it goes below that and it starts to go into single digits, we could see one of two things happen. It means that gold and commodity prices are going to like just terrorize. Is that the word? They're just going to be this thing that the Fed and Trump and Wall Street won't be able to get away from, right? We're cutting interest rates with gold, silver, and copper at an all-time high. Now, the piece I did earlier this week, I'm stealing the work of someone else. You can go look it up. It was on the Noble Report, and he said that we're going to turn 3% growth because of AI into a 3% deficit, but it's not going to push commodities down. For the first time in like my career, commodities could actually go up the worse things get. Follow me? That can't be. You can't. No, are you arguing that there could be like a 1932 and a 1981 at the same time? Yes, that's exactly what I'm suggesting. Now, yesterday the Dow hitting 50,000 is because all that money that rolls out of something like Amazon has a place to go. Mutual fund managers don't pick up the phone and go, Mrs. Kowalski, I'm going to send you your money back. It's not how it works. So if they're selling out of the NASDAQ, they have to put that into something. So what do? They put it in the biggest liquid names, which are in the Dow. So this is how does Amazon go down 9% and the Dow reach an all-time high? You're going to have to think about these really complex movements. That's why I'm rolling my phone around like this. And really, it's not about like really predicting things anymore. It's really the connection that we've lived through in my lifetime is generally when things get shitty, the dollar goes up and it goes up versus commodities, which means commodities go down. That has maybe just cut loose for the first time in our lifetime. The thing in COVID was sort of like maybe just like a flash of like we jumped to like 9% inflation coming out of COVID. That may have been like a literally like the thunder before the storm sort of thing. They appear to be doing yield control. They appear to be letting the dollar fall. They appear to be implementing the Moran paper, which Bruno said 2 years ago, I think Trump is going to take over the Treasury and take over the Fed. That's what's happening. And, the big plan of like tariffs is to like hold consumption, is literally to tax consumption and sort of change the flow of international trade based on that. Let the dollar come down. That also means we can't buy as much shit at Walmart. And so they really are restructuring the American system. Now, I personally believe that throwing up some tariffs isn't going to make Ford Motor Company compete with BYD. That's just Mickey Mouse. So the next 12 months, you will live through the biggest change in American economics since the Depression, since the Civil War, since the Revolution. That is exactly what the fourth turning predicted. That we're going to like live through all of our crises, all of our wars and depressions and 1968 and the Vietnam anti-war protests and so forth, and people in the streets and all that was predicted by the fourth turning, and it was all predicted that it would really cut loose in 25 to 26, which is obviously right now. For 5 years, I've been on here and I've been talking about all this tokenization of real world assets. These things are happening, people. I'm going to Chicago this afternoon. I just sent a memorandum of understanding to Aragon. They're the token people. Apex Tokeny is the new token that you do securities on. Everything I've been talking about begins today. Have a nice weekend.